Okay. This time, I mean it. New year, new doc. We ain't gonna fuck anything up. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, I gotta stop swearing. Everyone's listening. Geeks Worldwide Radio and the Dork Shared Universe proudly present to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest, podcasting team in the world. He's the Fry Guy, Nick Friar. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. And together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. And I mean it. I got to stop swearing in the intro, Nicholas, because that's when we pull people in, right? I swear later. Fine, right? Catch them off guard. You swear after the bat, they're going to, got to set the tone, baby. Got to set the tone.
Yeah. Yep. You know, I'm never gonna. There's certain words I guess I'd object to, but I mean, when you're usually I think you're fine. But yeah, but you know what, Joe? I don't blame you. Like, it's hard to contain the excitement that you got when we start a show.
I'll tell you, AWA loves the language. They love it. They love it. You know.
That's because they're gritty, they're raw, they're real. But yes,
just like Doc. That's going to be my new business card. Gritty, raw, and real.
I don't know if people want to hear that from their doctor. I could be wrong, but
well, as long as I'm not a proctologist, I guess.
I guess that's
you don't want to hear that from your urologist. He's gritty. He's real gritty.
Is this worse to talk about at the start of the show, or is it swearing? I don't know. See, it all matters. We haven't said anything wrong, but anyways, yes. So we are doing just what's new this week. Which anybody who's been around for a while, usually that means that we have something else cooking in the hopper. So keep your peepers popped. Hell, I mean, like, it can happen at any friggin' time. Who the hell knows? We say this all the time, but like, it may seem like we're repeating ourselves, it's cliche, but we genuinely mean it.
I think this one happened. You mentioned mid-show. You said, I just got an email. We'll talk about it after. Bing, bang, boom. Right? Yep. So that's how fast this comes together, baby. People want to be on TLDR, and quite frankly, I can't blame them.
Yeah, and you know, there are times where we have certain things on our radar that we want to do, creators we want to talk to, and those things come together. So yeah, there are times where Joe and I maybe know what's going on, but more and more it's like, we don't know, and we kind of have to be on our toes and get moving right away as fast as we can.
I never know.
There are times,
tell me, and I still won't know.
There are times that I tell you don't know. There are times that I try and move in the shadows and you don't know. Like, I think Cy Spurrier, I didn't tell you about till he got back to me. I think that one I did all.
Fucking snake.
I know.
Teamwork makes the dream work. You can't achieve that by keeping one guy in the fucking dark all the time.
Well, I knew he was. Speaking of people in the dark, I knew he was in an odd place because he's writing Constantine, as he mentioned to us. And by the way, you can only get our Friar side chats, which is what we've been alluding to this whole time, on our audio channel. So that is on Apple, that is on Spotify, Geeks Worldwide Radio, SoundCloud, Amazon, Pocket Cast, wherever you can find podcasts, we're there. And if you're finding us on Doc's Twitch stream, on Twitter, or over on our YouTube page, and you haven't listened to us in audio form before, let us know, and we'll make sure that we're on those an audio channel that if we're not carried on the one that you normally listen to podcast. Also, we didn't
real smooth, Nicholas. Real smooth.
We didn't talk about. Well, something popped into my head as I was saying all that. I was like,
"Oh Jesus!"
Joe's about to get really mad. Only leave 5-star ratings, please. Please only do that. We know that shit's not going to be perfect. There's going to be exceptions, but you may or may not upset one of our co-hosts if you do or do not do that. Or actually, if you don't do that.
I forgot about it. Thanks for opening up that fucking wound.
Sorry, I have to say it's part of my whole.
I didn't take my anxiety meds today. I was feeling really good. Didn't feel the need to take them. I'm gonna have to go pop extra now.
This is what you mean though when you say that you forget shit. Yes, it does happen from time to time. But hey, whoever that is, they're gonna learn the real meaning of backcracker.
Hey, you know what? You know what? I'll say this. It initially bugged the shit out of me, but you know, someone comes in, whatever, they drop a 3-star review. Or they just leave 3 stars, no reviews, right? That's fine, right? We're not everyone's cup of tea. You can't be everyone's cup of tea.
Agreed.
That's fine. You know what it does, Nicholas? Makes me hungrier.
Ooh,
I like that. Hungrier, right?
Yes.
You gotta take the good with the bad, right? And you gotta face adversity. You can't let it get under your skin, right? You can't let it affect you, right? Because some might say it's not wildly healthy to obsess about such a thing. So, you just turn a negative into a positive, right? And we move forward,
Mhm.
Nick and I are always going to try to give the people quality content. We're going to be honest,
Uh-huh.
and maybe some people don't like, the honesty. But you know what? We can't fluff everything, Nicholas.
I'm proud of
But
you.
we're going to do our best.
I'm very proud of you. I hope that after the show, you don't pull the rug out from under me and say, I'm still fucking pissed about it. I'm very proud of you.
I will probably forget this entire conversation, and I will say to him, "Oh, what the fuck."
This is the beauty of TLDR in our relationship. But yes, anyways, again, leave the highest rating review that you can. I know on Spotify it's also 5 stars. We're still a 5-star podcast over there. But Joe, it is time for us to stop talking about where you can find us and start talking about the shit we want to talk about. Catching up right now. I have been, as I've said, I think last time we convened when we were doing the January solicit, I've been working my way back through Jed McKay's run on Moon Knight. I crushed volume 1 to start the new year, and I've already crushed volume 2. Again, like, this is one where I was reading it, enjoying it. Someone talked to me about like their feelings on a certain creator on the series, just their opinion. And I felt like the hype around it was maybe a little bit too much. And for some reason I got in my own head. I'm rereading all this and it's like, I don't know what I was thinking previously. It's outstanding. I absolutely love it. I'll probably crush volume 3 by the time we talk, and because I want to read the Vengeance of Moon Knight. Like, I want to read that whole thing. It looks killer. I'd like to get in on that ASAP. So that's what I've been catching up on right now. What about you?
So I caught up on Red Sonja issue 3, written by Dan Panosian. Absolutely fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Luke Cage, right? Because we'll talk about that. Luke Cage issue 3 drops this week, so I caught up on issue 2. Darth Vader, right? That came out last week. Caught up on that, and then same thing. Fall of the House of X. I didn't get a chance to read this last week. I mean, this is huge, right? What X-Men is going through right now. We've been on Krakoa and been dealing with Krakoa for so long, for what, 3 years, 4 years now. It's
Wow.
coming to an end, and so this was an excellent issue to kind of start that. And then I'm just going to take that, Nicholas. We're going to run right into what's new this week from Marvel. And so piggybacking off that, we have Rise of Powers of, I'm going to call it Powers of 10.
I think that's right.
Rise of the Powers of 10, right? Because that's how it sort of was initially when we kicked all of this off. And
Right.
so when Hickman took over X-Men way back when and ushered in this new era, it started off with 2 huge titles, House of X and Powers of 10, right? And House of X was absolutely mind-blowing. It was fantastic. And Powers of 10 was great, but it was headier, right? It was dealing with, again, mathematics, right? The Powers of 10. So we were how many thousands of years into the future, and
Yeah, the time jumps.
right, and all the time jumps and all the stuff with more McTaggart, and now we're bringing that back, right? And so Powers of X kind of brings back that whole, it's bringing everything full circle is what it's doing. And so this was very similar in that vein, where it was a little heady. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of dialogue in this issue, but it was still excellent. And I still think it's very, if you've been reading X-Men all this time and been with it, you definitely want to read this. It's going to be part of just sort of tying everything together and sort of launching, what'll come next. So I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet, Nicholas, but
I did not, but Kieran Gillen, right?
yeah. So get on it. Right.
Yep,
This
I
is
will.
when you're gonna, definitely want to read. We had Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 15, The Avengers issue 9, Star Wars issue 42, Blade issue 7, The Sensational She-Hulk issue 4, Daredevil Gang War issue 2. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, we got Luke Cage Gang War issue 3. This is written by Rodney Barnes. Continues to be excellent. Spider-Gwen Smash issue 2, The Mandalorian season 2 issue 8, Thunderbolts issue 2, Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099 issue 2, The Sentry issue 2, a giant size Spider-Man issue 1. And then we've got 2 Marvel books, Nicholas, we want to talk about. I think we should start with the one where I sent you a shit ton of eyeball emojis.
Yes.
Because this might have been one of the most wild issues of this comic. And of that, of course, is Wolverine issue 41.
Yes, so this is co-written by Benjamin Percy, friend of the show, and Victor LaValle, and then co-drawn by Jeff Shaw and Corey Smith. Good God, dude! Like, yeah, I, I tend to wait for you to text me when we're both reading the same book because I don't want to run into changing expectations or anything. But I should have just texted you right away after reading that. There's a parental advisory
Yes.
on the cover of this, and yes, yeah. I mean, there absolutely needs to be.
I mean, it's not so much of a parental advisory, is it just flat out says this is the most vicious Wolverine comic.
No, there's literally a parental advisory on the cover.
Oh, so
There is.
I
Yeah.
missed that on the cover because I read the caption like this is, essentially this is the most vicious issue of Wolverine story ever told.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, and that was there too. But like I read that and I was like, wow, okay, like cool. Like that's a great thing. Is it like I just think it's hype and whatever. We've seen some pretty gritty stuff from Benjamin Percy with Wolverine and Ghost Rider, but absolutely delivered. Holy shit.
This was absolutely savage, right? And I love what he does with Sabretooth. And I believe it says that this issue takes place before the events of Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of 10. I think it tells you that too.
That is
Um,
correct.
and so what we were given here, this is, I mean, Wolverine's always been a vicious character, and Sabretooth has always been a savage character.
Yes.
But like, it's no joke. It's not hyperbole. Like, you've never seen these two characters go to this, especially Sabretooth, go to this level. And like, he really, Percy and LaValle don't hold back. And within the viciousness, there's a line which I don't want to say it because it'll spoil it, but it was like the imagery is so graphic. But when Sabretooth says, well, I guess Cyclops is more like blank, I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was so perfect and so fitting. I mean, you want to talk about, we said this time and time again with Percy, like he's so in sync with this character because I really do believe, deep down somewhere he is this character.
Mhm.
Maybe not, because what we get in this issue is next level, but like, man, if you haven't read a stitch of Wolverine and have no idea about the past 40 issues, just read this one.
Yeah.
Because it is something, man. Like, it is something else.
That's something I tried to wonder here because there have been times where we've not been on top of a title and then we go and read it. It's like, oh, we can give real feedback on, oh yeah, you're fine to read this. You're still going to be capable of enjoying it regardless of like whether or not you read it previously. And this is one where I think, again, maybe it'd be beneficial to have a general idea of what's going on with Krakoa,
Yes.
but that's it. That's really all you need to have because there are a lot of blanks that do get filled in here to let you know what's been going on with Sabretooth. You get an idea of what's going on with Wolverine. And I do think like it was a good introduction to what's going on. And then from here, it very much feels like everything is just going to get more and more personal between Victor Creed and Logan. And it's the first issue is fucking brutal. And it's a swift reminder too. Like, of how awesome of a character, how awesome of a villain Sabretooth is. Because you're right, like we've seen, like Sabretooth is a pretty despicable character. He's been that way forever. But now we're getting to see the violence up to a degree that I mean, flat out, I just didn't expect to see in general, like especially from Marvel. Like it's a Disney company. I just don't expect to see that.
I was just about to say this book is a must read just for shock and awe value, right? It's more than that, right? It's so much more than that.
Yes.
But again, this is not something that we have seen to this level in this series. This is something that we haven't seen, I think, to this level with some of these characters, but especially like Marvel. Like,
yeah,
there's an edge here, and I wouldn't say there's a line that's crossed. That would be overstating it. But like, it's just, this would be the first time where I'd be like, oh, it's a Marvel book. Let anyone read. I don't know.
Yeah, the Ghost Rider stuff is pretty ratcheted up for a Marvel book, and that's Corey Smith on that.
Yeah,
and Wolverine does get violent, but Ghost Rider I felt like has been like recently been the bar. And I think that Sabretooth in the first issue like raises the bar by at least 2 levels with the level of violence that we get here. And we're getting
Yeah.
this is also going to be bi-weekly, and you're getting 10 issues to
Yeah.
this story. So this is going to be a wild, what is that? 5 months? Is that right?
Bring
Math?
it on me, baby.
I
Don't
don't know.
ask me. I
Yeah.
became a chiropractor, so I wouldn't have to do math.
Yeah, well, I'm a writer, so I mean, I'm even worse at it. But yeah, so Wolverine issue 41, absolutely killer. Pun intended. Joe, what is the first issue that you have from Marvel that you wanted to talk about?
So I think I called dibs on that. Oh, I think
You did.
when we did this in the solicit, I said I'm pretty sure I'm going to call dibs on this, but I got to read it first just to make sure. And then I said just 200% I am calling dibs on this next book, and that is Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1, written by
Spider-Man. Excuse me.
Spider-Man. Well, I wanted to give this book its.
Oh,
I didn't want to hold
oh,
back on this one.
sorry.
This one I be prim and proper. Written by Jonathan Hickman, with art by Marco Cicchetto. And man, this is we were having a discussion before we went live here about, I think I said I've read something like 28 or 29 books already so far
Mhm.
to start the year. And there's one book that I'm not going to discuss here where I said might be my favorite issue so far that I've read. But Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1 is right there with it, if not just a tick below. This is, I believe the solicit, the synopsis was sort of like a brand new or an all new take, changing the world of Spider-Man sort of as you know it. And what Hickman does with this Ultimate series that he's going to be writing here is it's a great premise. It's an absolutely brilliant premise where it's essentially you've got, you've got this character who he alters the course of reality where he prevents all the origin stories from superheroes so that everyone is living in a world without Spider-Man, without the Fantastic Four, without bop, 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 bop. He sort of goes back and all the events that like the spider bite, he prevents that from happening.
Hmm.
And what we get is we get this great world where you get all these familiar characters that but they're so completely different, right? Obviously. And one thing, real quick, is there's a scene with there's a couple panels with Matt Murdock. He's obviously not Daredevil. He's just Father Matt. And seeing Cicchetto draw Matt Murdock again, right? Just put a little just it brought back some fond memories. But that premise alone is so great. And the idea that there's, this sort of this Tony Stark character that's not like the Tony Stark that we're familiar with, but familiar with at the same time, comes in towards the end and sort of changes the current reality for Peter Parker. Because in this story, he is an adult, right? He's writing for, the Daily Bugle, and all the chain of events that lead up to the end of that first issue was so good, and where this story is going to go, I just know it's going to be absolutely excellent. So if you're a Spider-Man fan and you're looking for a sort of a new fresh take on the character in that world, this 100% is a must read. The art is excellent. Hickman's storytelling here is excellent, and the different spin on the characters, seeing them in different lights that we're so used to seeing them in, it's a breath of fresh air. It's fascinating. It's intriguing. It's everything you want in a Spider-Man book, with it being so much different than what we're used to.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, I this sounds like definitely a dibs worthy book for sure. And obviously you being more of the Spider-Man guy than me, that I'm happy for you. Nice.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
sounds great.
that was tremendous. This was so fucking good, Nicholas. It was just so fucking good.
Well, I'm happy for you. I'm going to move on to DC now, though. We got Action Comics 1061, Green Lantern issue 7, Batman and Robin issue 5, Titans Beast World issue 4, Wesley Dodge, the Sandman. Is that how you want me to say it? The Sandman.
Don't steal my shtick. Just do it.
You told. Wait a second. Hold the fucking phone. I just want. Our loyal
You
listeners.
can't believe a word out of this guy's mouth.
All our loyal listeners know that you said when I said Superman from now on, you want me to say Superman. So I was
It
just
doesn't sound like
confirming.
something I'd say.
Interesting. All right. Well, anyways, moving on. Outsiders issue 3, Speed Force issue 3, Fables 161, and Looney Tunes. That's what the show's starting to friggin' feel like 276.
Let's see. I'll take us through the next two here. We have from Boom Studios, Zawa in the Belly of the Beast, issue 3, and Abbott 1979, issue 3. Light week from Boom. From Dark Horse, we have Usagi Yojimbo, Ice and Snow, issue 4. Now, real quick on this, I'm a little confused because the cover says 4 out of 5, but then at the end of this issue, it says the end. So I was a little confused by that, but I again, just continuing Stan Sakai's story over at Dark Horse. Absolutely love it. We have Quick Stops Volume 2, Issue 2, Tear Us Apart, Issue 3, Subgenre, Issue 3. Both books I'm reading. I just didn't get a chance to read them yet this week. The Assassin's Apprentice 2, Issue 2. And then, Nicholas, we have a book that you'd like to discuss real quick.
Yeah, Masterpiece issue 2 by Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev. This is something that I've called dibs on, and I really love the world that's being built here. And it's maybe a world isn't the right way to put it. It's more like of a connected underground that's being developed. I already talked about how this is very spy centric, and there's so much potential for growth here. But that said, everything's moving at a very controlled pace for the story, and it seems very appropriate for at least our main character. And I think the people that her parents associate with, who we're getting to know more and more, but the individual Masterpiece, she's very smart, especially for her age, and she's still trying to take in a lot, and so are we. But at the same time, like she's able to put pieces together so well because she's so friggin' brilliant. So I've really enjoyed how this has moved through the first 2 issues. And I mentioned at the end of the first issue, there was like this big surprise where it's like, it was already an interesting issue. And then we get this surprise at the end, and it's like, well, what the fuck was that? And we get more on that in this issue. And I already know now who's going to be Joe's favorite character whenever the time comes for you to read this after I've talked about it on a mainline episode. It's without question who will be your number one guy. But yeah, Masterpiece, I'm very excited to talk about this on the show when I get the chance. But through the first 2 issues, this has been a home run.
Yeah, I was very intrigued by this book, and you appropriately called dibs quickly. So
Sometimes I'm on my toes. Most times though I'm not. From IDW, we got TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures issue 9, Earth Divers issue 14, Dark Spaces The Hollywood Special issue 5, Star Trek Strange New Worlds The Scorpius Run issue 5. Then from our friends at AWA Studios, it looks like Red Light got pushed back. Is that correct?
Yeah, when we did the solicit last week, we said that Red Light issue 3 and the Madness we're dropping this week, but League of Comic Geeks has Red Light issue 3 slated to come out next month in February, and then something else. But yeah, it looks like it got pushed back. But Nicholas, the Madness wrapped up, my friend, and I got to tell you. So I've been talking about this book. This won my best new series of 2023, and without it even finishing, I knew it was worthy of that award, and I knew that it was going to wrap up just absolutely wonderfully. And so what really grabbed me when first reading this was that first issue. I said was the best first issue from AWA I'd read all year. Mm-hmm. And there was an emotional tone to it. It hit me heavy. It hit me hard. It was that perfect revenge story, that you want. And to see how it came full circle and how it wrapped up was so satisfying. Was so satisfying because you had an antagonist in this story that was so arrogant, and to see them get their comeuppance and just to see how it all unfolded was so satisfying. And I'm glad that I didn't hesitate to give this book the award, because it was worth it. If you haven't read it when it comes out in trade, this is a must buy graphic novel. You'll read it like that, and you'll be rooting for the main character the whole way through. Uh, so good, and I can't wait. As soon as we get it, I think I'll do this, Nicholas. I will help you out. Our first mainline issue, I will discuss this book.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this going to move up to the top of your mainline pile? It has to.
It has to. It has to, because you have to read it, and people need to hear about it in a little bit more detail, so they won't hesitate to run out and grab it when the trade drops, because it's that damn good, Nicholas.
Nice. I love hearing that. Awesome stuff there, and good note on Red Light. Let's see, what do we got from Vault Loan issue 2, just a single issue from them. But you want to take us through the next couple, Joe?
Yeah. So from Titan, we have Gumma, the beginning of her issue 2, and man, Rebel
Oh.
Moon, House of the Blood Axe issue 1. I would tell people this. We haven't gotten an advanced copy of this book, but don't let the movie deter you, because it very well could be that the comic is fantastic.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I I can't recommend the movie. But don't let the movie scare you away.
Did you watch it?
Uh no, I won't. I can't. I saw that score, and I just like, I'm so over the whole Snyder thing anyways,
Mhm.
and now, but we need the directors, all that stuff. I just
How
can't
does that
do it.
happen with streaming service? I'm sorry.
I know, right? But don't hesitate to grab the I can't, I'm not saying it's good and I haven't read it, but like, if it looks good and you're interested, grab it. Support the creators and judge it on its own merits, and not, based on what you may have or may or not have seen on Netflix. From Dynamite, we have Alice Cooper issue 4, Jennifer Blood Battle Diary issue 2, and Disney Villains Cruella de Vil issue 1. Nicholas, let's wrap this puppy up, and bring it on home, baby.
Yes. So from Image, we have Transformers issue 4, which is of course also a Skybound series. From we also got King Spawn issue 29, The Sacrificers issue 6, which I am reading. Joe refuses to read and
Bird
has
people
missed out.
can't do it. Can't do it. I'm sorry. It's who's writing it? It's
Remender.
I love Rick Remender. Absolutely love Rick Remender. I can't get past the bird people. It
I,
freaks me out.
I walked into the dibs on this one, so yeah, I will talk about that at some point down the line. Swan Songs issue 6, Kaya issue 4, Blood Commandment issue 3, Per Evil. I'm sorry, Per Evil issue 4.
I hit the mute button. That's not going to fix my audio. And
Oh
even
man.
wrong button.
Oh man. Adventure Man Ghost Lights issue 1. Then we also have Fish Flies issue 4, which you are reading, Deep Cuts issue 4, which I've been reading, Midlights or sorry, Midlife, or How to Hero at 50 issue 4, which I have dibs on. Not talking about this week, but it was another strong issue. Star Signs issue 7, which you're reading, Antarctica issue 7, which you're reading, and then Petrolhead issue 3 that you're reading. That we each have a title that we want to dig into a little bit more. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Crave issue 2?
Well, Hachi, freaking Machi, Nicholas, this book is something else. This is a very naughty book, and
Oh,
it is.
oh.
I mean, it is absolutely wild. It's written and drawn by I believe it's Maria Lovett, and the premise of it, I talked about when the first issue dropped, is someone created an app, and it's like, what do you crave? And you can sort of type in a fantasy or something that you want to happen, and the app will either tell you no, there's like a 0% chance of that happening, or it will tell you exactly what you need to do, steps you need to take in order for that to happen. And this issue is just, I mean, the first issue was steamy and wild, but this one was like, holy cow, there wasn't a panel or a page that didn't have something, wildly erotic on it. But, you know, with that said, the underlying premise that you almost seem to have this sentient app
Hmm.
that's at play here with these warning signs. It takes place sort of like, one of these. I sort of envision it as, one of these sort of old English colleges, and where everyone is so uptight and everything, and they're all sharing their dormitories and all that. And there's one of the guy's roommates has a sticky note says, "Don't use the app." And of course, in this issue, he does, and the things that unfold as a result, absolutely wild, absolutely wild. This is a book that, like, one, it's you do not read it in front of kids. You do not give this to your nieces or nephews to read, right?
Mhm.
And if your wife catches you reading it, you say it's for research. you know, I gotta do it for the show. I gotta talk about it. But no, it is absolutely excellent. The premise is wild, but like the underlying story here and what's going on. There's a mystery afoot here. Like, yeah, it's that damn good. So like, I'm sure I'll talk about it on the show at some point. Got to find a way how to. But this is really is a really good story, an unexpected story, one that I didn't know. I sort of like, again, it's Image. We try to read all the number ones, as many as we can. And is this going to be something? This is a book that I should say is sort of out of my wheelhouse that I absolutely love.
So it's funny. We started the what's new segment with us talking about Wolverine and how this is something you cannot, you have to be careful who's reading this or who you're around. And it's not even the book that you'd be most uncomfortable to read in public this week. Not even close.
No, this one, Crave is right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild. That's
Sounds
wild.
like it. And I'm really glad that you gave this a look because shame on me. I saw it and I was like, I don't know. The cover didn't draw me in and I didn't look beyond into the synopsis for some strange reason. And but it's good because this is what the show's all about. Like you went and checked it out, you fell in love with it, and now you're gonna be talking about it on the show at some point down the line. I don't know how the fuck you're gonna do it based on what you're telling me, but I'm looking forward to experiencing that and just letting you fucking navigate it. Speaking of which, of books that one of us one passed up on and the other one has been reading, Bloodrick issue 2. You talk about Crave, which is a title that's written and drawn by one creator. So is Bloodrick, Andrew Cranky, which I believe I'm saying his name correctly. I'll have to double check with him before I do this on mainline because you have not checked this out yet. I know when the first issue dropped, it was an accident, correct?
Yeah, there was two number ones from issue that from if two number ones from Image that week, and I meant to read both, but I only got to one. And I said, okay, I'll go back and read this other one as long as Nick didn't call dibs. And you did, but I was so upset. It's very rare when I just say I flat out don't like the book. I can't remember what the book was. I
Doesn't matter.
flat out did not like it. And then you went and talked about Bloodrick, and I said, God damn it.
Yeah.
I read the wrong one.
It happens to the best of us, but I'll tell you what, man, I the thing about this too is like there's a nostalgic feeling I have to this, but not in any kind of way that I've ever really thought about. But I talk about how as I got older, comics became particularly important to me. I think I just learned like as a reader, like no, this is the kind of shit I should have been reading all the fucking time because this is what like resonates with how I am and what happens with me with prose and everything. But I forgot like I used to read comic strips all the time from the newspaper, all the time. That was honestly like I wound up like studying journalism and everything. If you if you found a way to look at what I read most when I used to read the newspaper, it was 1,000% the comic strips until I moved out of my parents'
Big
house.
family circus guy.
Oh yeah, all of it, man. I did family circus too. But yeah, there's a lot. I read pretty much all of it. Whatever was in the paper, I was checking it out for sure. And this kind of gives me that vibe, partially because of the art style, and partially because like I guess because of the uniqueness of it. Like this is very focused on one character, which we see stories focused on one character in comics for sure, but it's just so it's every like it's not just like I don't know, it feels like it's character driven to the nth degree, where it's like it's all just about his movements, and we have no like it's tough. You don't know what to anticipate because you're just like in the moment with Bloodrick the entire time. I think that like when I talk about the where it reminds me of a comic strip, I think that the architecture I kind of alluded to before, but then also the unique lettering layout too, because like we still get like, you know, the standard bubbles, we still get some level of like standard captions, but then there's also spots where it's just like the text is just like in the art, like it's just like in like there's a lot of snow, so it's like buried in the snow, or there's like a moment of darkness and we might just see it in there, and it's kind of just added like added to this title where it's like this is an interesting story, but I also feel like like there's just so many different things going on that it feels like an experience. And I really hope that the third issue, because it's only supposed to be 3 issues, but it's like extra sized issues. I really hope that this isn't the end of Bloodrick. We do get like a backup story at the end of this issue, and it's still by the same creator. And that I also enjoyed that as well. That quick little one off. But I really feel like this is a character who, you know, every few months we get a 3-issue miniseries from him. I would be very interested in checking that out.
Nice. Love that. Yeah, man, you win some, you lose some, right?
Yeah, I guess you do, but not so much me. But anyways, that is it for us this week. A reminder for those who are new to the show and just catching us for the first time. If anytime we're just focusing on the new comics that are dropping this week, that usually means we got something else cooking in the background. Can't tell you what it is yet because we don't have it in the hopper, and heaven forbid something happens, because it has happened before. We don't want to promise something that's not going to actually come. But just make sure you subscribe to one of our audio channels. Leave a 5-star rating review, assuming that's the highest that you can leave. If you do that, everything's going to get delivered right to your listening device, nice and easy. But yeah, Joe, until next week, stay sexy.
You know it, baby.